Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining wherever you are. Depends on the time zone you are from. Thank you for joining our Open Up show. We do it normally on Sundays from 7 to 7:30 Eastern time. And before I bring the guest for today, I want to give some details about our organization, Voice of Men 360. Voice of Men 360 is a non-profit organization. It is started back in August 2020 and based in Toronto, Canada, technically speaking, London, Ontario. But our focus is the well-being of boys and men. That Voice of Men 360, we felt the demands what we are seeing in our society that boys men's issues are not really spoken. So what we want to do is we want to create awareness about boys men's issues and also how we can support them. That's what we are doing. And before I get into that topic today, I want to read our disclaimer actually. We would like to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith toward peaceful harmony. The views and opinions are expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not necessarily represent Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness of the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We are not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have questions or concerns about today's episodes or any Voice of Men 360 content, please email us at info@voiceofmen360.org. Today we have a special guest, but even before that, I want to talk about a little bit about Voice of Men 360 and also International Men's Day. We are the official representative in Canada to represent International Men's Day. International Men's Day has been serving for more than 25 years around 95 countries, and they are following 6 pillars, which is the well-being of boys and men. Today we have a special guest, Lynda Harlos, founder of Parentwithpurpose, sex trafficking and abuse prevention, educator, keynote speaker, teacher, and author. That's why we want to bring her and then have a discussion about men's and boys issues. Let's welcome Lynda. Lynda, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining. It is a great pleasure to meet over here. Let's start the inspiration or the influence. How did you, the starting point, how did you come up with this, the Parent with Purpose? Can you tell about?
Parent with Purpose actually started back in 2014. It was really just a blog that was started really just to help with parenting issues. But then back in 2019 is when we discovered that my daughter actually had been trafficked by her live-in boyfriend. And at that point, when we realized what had happened, she decided she was going to start working for an organization here to try to prevent it from happening to other people. And that's when I changed Parent with Purpose focus to literally fighting sex trafficking and abuse. Because honestly, if we had known back then what we know now about abuse and sex trafficking, my daughter probably wouldn't have been trafficked. So my goal now is to make it so that nobody else puts their head on the pillow at night with naivety being the reason somebody they know and love is being trafficked or abused.
Absolutely. So sorry to hear, but at the same time, people say always things happen for a reason, right? So that's an influence, and then somehow we had to go through some kind of those suffering or challenges, and then from those challenges we can learn something, and then probably help other people too.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that information. Um, what you are actually doing currently with this organization, though? Can you give me more details on that?
Absolutely. So I am a sex trafficking and abuse prevention educator. So I do workshops, I do speaking engagements, I'm a keynote speaker. So I go, a lot of it is online, but I actually do go to different places in North America right now, but I'm hoping it to be global soon, where I will actually do presentations and keynote speaking, where I educate people on what sex trafficking, what domestic sex trafficking really looks like. We have two movies out there, the movie Taken and the movie Sound of Freedom, both very good movies about international trafficking, but they don't touch anywhere close to what the reality is of what domestic sex trafficking looks like. And domestic sex trafficking typically looks like a regular relationship. And as parents or people that are involved in these people's lives, they may just look like maybe it's a bit of an abusive relationship, but behind the scenes, they're actually being trafficked, exploited, and threatened in many ways in their lives in order to keep them in line. So that is basically what it is I do is I go around the country and I educate on that. I do that by workshops. I do that by speaking. I do that by like presentations tonight with you. I have a book coming out in December the 11th is its launch date. And that also is just another tool that I'm using to help reach the masses because education is prevention.
Absolutely. So you are doing a lot of things actually. Speaking on sex trafficking,
Mhm.
can we talk about, or I want to ask you this question though. Of course, since the platform mainly focusing on men's and boys issues,
Yep.
but at the same time, that what do you think, or like what do you see when we talk about, or when we're looking at boys or men in the sex trafficking though?
Uh, I'm glad you asked that question because there's not enough people who ask that question. It's not just sex trafficking, it's also abuse or sexual abuse. I think that men are a huge target, and I think they actually are a target that nobody's paying attention to. I believe that there are, we know statistically right now that there's about 7% men who are coming forward and reporting the fact that they have actually been trafficked. But we know those numbers are much, much higher. Now, I'm saying statistics and reports, and what that means is that they have been ready and willing to go to the police officer. So now my daughter's trafficking has not been reported either. And that's because we know that there was nothing they were going to be able to do about it. It was 8 years after the fact, and she did not have proof of fear of life. So she didn't report it either. But that's not why men typically don't report it. What we're finding is that there's two main reasons why men will not report pretty much any crime, but specifically anything that has to do with sex, so sex trafficking or sexual abuse, even physical abuse. And the primary reason that they won't is because they're afraid their masculinity is going to be questioned. People are going to say to them, well, how did you not stop this? Or why didn't you just fight them off? Or why did you allow this to happen? And the language we use re-victimizes people all over again instead of understanding the manipulation and the coercion that actually happened to get a victim in there in that situation in the first place. And this can happen to any gender. So males are just as susceptible as females in this. And they just will not report it because then people are just going to question their masculinity and make them feel really bad about the fact that they couldn't have gotten themselves out. And the second reason we're finding that men tend not to report this is because the minute they report it, for some reason, their sexuality is also questioned. So they're questioned whether or not they're maybe homosexual or they're bisexual, and there's never ever a given where we don't question that, and I don't understand why. Who they decide to spend their time with in a private moment has nothing to do with whether or not they've been trafficked or abused. And quite often heterosexual men who have been trafficked or abused instantly are going to feel like somebody's going to think that they're gay or they're bisexual. And that instantly puts a target on their back. Or if they are bisexual or they're homosexual, they're afraid that they haven't come out maybe yet, or they're afraid of what their friends are going to say or do. And so that's the two primary reasons why men just will not normally voice it, which also leads to the biggest reason why more men tend to get involved in suicide, especially over sexual abuse or sex trafficking, where women don't. Women will tend to go get help.
It is a heavy topic. At the same
It
time,
is.
it's very important to talk about that too. So yes, of course, we can understand at some certain points or some certain level, but what do you think? Like how we can break it? It doesn't matter either male or female. Of course, as you said, most of them they don't really, or there are so many layers and reasons behind that when it comes to reporting. But let's talk about men, how we can help them, or how we can break the stigma, how to get them to reporting. What do you think?
To get them to report it, well, we can't even get most women to report it. Part of the problem is the minute we report it, quite often they get re-victimized all over again, whether that be male or female, because the process is grueling and it's tough. But whether you report it or not, whether it becomes part of the statistics or not, it's more important that you get help, that you get, that you're a victim, and that you figure out how or why you were a victim, so you don't get re-victimized all over again, so that you can find out what your self-worth is, so that you can get back onto some very solid ground of who you are as a person, your worth, your value, your purpose in life. And the only way you can do that is by surrounding yourself with people who actually care about you. And if you're struggling even with that because you feel very alone, very isolated, which is, tends to happen when you become a victim, you think nobody else understands. It's really important that you find an organization that is aware of whatever victimization you were involved with, whether that be sexual, whether that be trafficking, whether that just be abuse. And I'm saying just, I mean, that's not even the right word, because abuse is just as bad, but, or whether or not it's harassment at the workplace. It doesn't matter what it is. The minute you're a victim, you should be seeking help, and you shouldn't be afraid to do that, because those people are the professionals. They're the ones that know how to help you through it. And it's really easy for me to sit there and say, you know what, just do it, just go find some help. But I know the shame and the blame and everything that goes with it. But I can tell you from a parent's point of view, and people pointing fingers at me and saying to me, how could you have missed this? You must have been a horrible parent for this to happen to your daughter. The truth of it is, I have a choice to let what happens to me make me bitter or better. And I have that personal choice, and I chose better. And I chose to turn my pain into purpose. And I'm really challenging men to do the same thing. Um, we are in a society now where we are not as gender specific. We don't really care about that. Equality is much more of a thing, not just in pay, but as being victims. And you need to literally shut the door on all the noise and all of the people criticizing you, and realize that you just have value and worth, and you have a right to make your life better. And the heck with what everybody else is saying about you. And once you start taking ownership for who you are and what you have a right to have, taking accountability for your self-worth, and realizing you have self-worth, and do something with that. Honestly, that's when you're going to start turning around, and you're going to help the next person, because you're going to realize that that is actually how we're going to fix this, is literally by you overcoming whatever it is you're overcoming, and you helping the next person in line. That's why I'm here. I'm assuming that's probably why you're here as well. We truly believe in helping the next person in line. And the only way to stop the stigma is to keep helping everybody else in our lives who have problems, and making them feel valued and loved. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely. Thank you. I really appreciate that because coming forward and then not only seeking help, but also you went through some mental challenges and other challenges too. But coming out and then helping people, it's next step because you cannot just, okay, you know what, I'm kind of like recovering and then I'm doing okay, but I don't want to help. I just want to leave it alone, but you made a big decision and then you came forward and then you are doing much in larger in the so many things. One thing I want to ask you is that from your experience, Linda, so when you go through or when you or whenever you meet these people, how about coming out or like a recovering part? One is, of course, trafficked is one, but at the same time, somehow they come out, but from the life they had to start all over again, right? So how do you see, or what are the challenges they have? Can you talk about that?
The challenges of coming out
Well,
of
coming
being
out
trafficked.
and also the starting new life, recovering, doing something in their life. Though.
And I don't think necessarily you have to start over completely. I think what you need to do is you need to be finding the people in your lives because there are probably people in your life that you're not even aware of that are ready and willing to support you and be and continue to be your tribe. You have to just be honest enough with them and let them know what happened, what's going on in your life, what it is that you're struggling with. And honestly, I think that when you start opening those doors and those communications and you start being open with what it is that you're struggling with life, I think you'll be surprised at how much they're going to start trying to tell you as well. So you may not be starting over completely. You will have a few people in your life who are going to be ready and willing to stay with you, regardless of what it is you tell them. But then you're going to have some that are going to fall away. And honestly, they weren't your friends to begin with. Or you know what? They're just struggling and dealing with something so traumatic right now themselves that they just can't handle one more thing. And that's okay. So then you need to go and find that tribe of people who can help you. And I'm going to give you this example only because it's the thing that makes the most sense as far as giving an analogy. You know, if somebody becomes an alcoholic, they go to AA. AA is full of meetings of people who have the same struggles and the same problems. And then once they get to the point where they're healthy and recovered to some degree, then they become sponsors for somebody else. And that's the kind of thing you need to find is just, and there's organizations that will help you deal with abuse, drug addictions, suicide concerns, trafficking, anything sexual abuse. There are all kinds of organizations out there. I am starting to get a ton of those on my website. Sorry, just a minute here. My mic just went. I'm trying to get those resources on my website so that people can literally just click on it and find something that will suit them. But just type into Google and look for organizations in your area that offer support in what it is that you're going through. And worst case scenario, I mean, you guys, I mean, what you're doing here, just finding men's group, because if there's a men's group out there like this one, and there's a few that I've come across, these are the type of groups you need to reach out to because they've started because of other issues that they've dealt with in their life, whether that be a man's issue, a father's issue, a brother's issue, right? Men, a work issue. You guys are struggling with things that as men together, you can help each other. So even just the fact that you're listening to this today and it's a men's program called 360 Men, I mean, this is huge. This is what you need to be finding out there. And this is how you're going to start finding support and help.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for recognizing that the works that we do or our intention, our focus is that, it doesn't matter either one word or one line or one story or your whole life journey can impact or can make some kind of impact on positive impact on somebody's life. If I only know that, okay, you know what, I know there's a support system, then I can
Yes.
share whenever I come across. I believe, I think until something happened to closest to the person or our loved ones, we don't care, or we don't really talk about it or think about that situation, though, even human trafficking or sexual abuse against men or something like that, it is practical, or I mean, it is a reality, right? So
It
we had
is.
to accept that. But in terms of talking about the resources, what do you think? Like, of course, we come to know that a lot of resources for women, but how about for men? On the other hand, do we have enough support system out there, or how we are we feeling? Of course, there are one or two or few men's organization, but how about in terms of helping those human trafficking people, though?
I mean, even Victim Services, which is a Canadian organization, and it's in every major city across Canada. They're just an amazing organization for any gender dealing with any kind of victimization. So whether that be abuse, sexual abuse, trafficking, whether or not it's some other crime, even such as a theft or anything. And that's what Victim Services does. So there are organizations out there, and we are beginning to really see a rise in the fact that they are understanding that men have as many issues as women do. But again, we can't help them if they don't come to the organizations and ask for help. But so it's hard to determine how good they're going to be at helping men until they get a chance to do so. So I do know of a few that do work very diligently with men, but I know that there are all organizations out there that I've dealt with, and I deal with hundreds of them. Would love to work with men. Would love to know that men feel comfortable enough to come to them and ask for help, especially for counseling, therapy, group sessions where they can talk about things, victimization, and giving them, a support group that will actually help them through some of this, even with, like it is with some of the females, if they've been sexually trafficked and they've got no place to go, they have no housing, they have no food. Victimization is victimization, no matter what the gender. So most of these organizations are very good at understanding that. And if it is a housing place for females, because of abuse or trafficking, and it is specifically for females, they generally know of a place that they can send somebody who is a male. So the trick is really just to reach out, find them, ask, and they'll start sending you to the right locations. But it's a very good question, and one now that I'm actually going to be doing some extra research on and making sure I can have one or two put on my website for men specifically. I do know one of down in Florida, and I'm in the process of working with him right now and getting links and stuff to put on. But the problem is how do we get somebody here in Canada, help? I haven't found one in Canada yet, but we will. We'll find them, and they'll be on my website. We're going to find them.
Exactly. So that's why I was asking the question, though,
Yep.
because we need to know. Of
Yep.
course, okay, what they're talking about sex trafficking, and then
Yep.
things and this and that. But how about in terms of the resources, or where to seek help, or how do we get help, or something like that? We need to have those in house, right? So somebody can do that, of course. What I want to ask you, maybe you come across, or you may not have experience, but since we are working with the indigenous communities, have you come across with any kind of like experience or knowledge that how about in terms of when it comes to human trafficking, about men or women, generally speaking, do you have any kind of knowledge how they are affecting when it comes to human trafficking or sex trafficking?
Are we talking Indigenous?
Yeah, indigenous.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
You know what? It's Indigenous people. Bless their hearts. They have a voice. They are out there, and they're getting seen, and they're getting noticed, and they're getting help, and that's because they've been ready and willing to have a voice and say something. There is a lot of them out there, and there's a lot of organizations that are helping them. I have done presentations, I think, for two of them. They are constantly the difference between well, what's very evident with Indigenous people is they are looking and they're searching and they want the help and they're ready and willing to go out there and get it. And it's a huge lesson for all of us, is to stop hiding our head in the sand and start having a voice and start talking. So to answer your question, yes, there's a ton of Indigenous people out there that are dealing with abuse, sexual abuse, and they are getting a lot of resources, a lot of dollars, even from our government here in Canada, to help them. So to me, I would love to see the same thing happen for men, where men just get up and rise a voice and say, okay, we need help too. So we need to get organizations going and ready for men as much as we do Indigenous and as much as we do for women. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you for sharing those information. Of course, we like to get to know more about that because we need to know more. We are looking for organization, grassroots organization to work with them. That's one. Let's move to the next one. You're talking about a book. You're in the process of writing a book. Can you share a little bit more details about the book and then how is your journey and what is your plan?
All right. Well, the book is called Walk a Mile. It's a story about my journey discovering my daughter's secret life, which was her trafficking. But it will be a book that anybody who is dealing with a child between the ages of 11 and 12 to 25, because it helps you recognize and see unhealthy relationships as a parent, the struggles that you're going to go through with that. It's my memoir basically, and it's done in story format, so it's very easy to read. It's very easy to kind of go through, but it will help pinpoint the struggles where you are with your kids, things that are happening. And in there, I'm very blunt. At the end, my daughter and I have a conversation together about what happened and why and what we did wrong. And you'll see it throughout the book, through the story format. You'll see some of the things I did wrong parenting her. So it's just another tool I'm using to try to reach people. On the book cover, it doesn't talk anything about sex trafficking or abuse. It just talks about the secret life of my daughter, because I'm hoping it will just get out there and reach the masses and people will just read it, understanding that as parents or anybody who is dealing with a child between the ages of 11 to 25, that our teens are going through a lot. But we have to remember that it isn't just hormones that they're going through. Yes, their bodies and their mind and their brain is going all over the place. But typically, they have a lot of other things going on, and we have to make sure we're their safe place. So that's the project. It's going to be launched on December the 11th, which is my daughter's birthday. So we did that on purpose because we just really wanted to celebrate the fact that she let me write the book about her, and that hopefully it will be a tool that will help any parent, anywhere, anytime, understand just the struggles of dealing with a teen, and understanding and seeing what an unhealthy relationship looks like third hand when we're looking at our kids in their relationships.
Absolutely. We are excited to hear and then looking forward to see the book. And then
Thank you.
probably we will have another discussion on book alone. Maybe if your daughter is willing to speak on that too, maybe you guys, both of you, can join. What I want to ask is that when you go out and then doing a lot of presentation and speeches and everything, when we come back, what do you how do you see the outcome, the response from the parents or even the organization, or even if you go to schools or any other places, how was the response or outcome?
When I do a live presentation or a live workshop with a school or an organization, the outcome is always much different than the ones that I do online. The in person, instantly I can see in the crowd the families that are struggling, and being aware that what I'm presenting to them is a huge possibility that this might be happening to one of their kids. And that is my main goal, is really just to make people aware, pull their head out of the sand. Unfortunately, media, the Sound of Music and Sound of Freedom and the Taken movies talk about sex trafficking, but they make us think that sex trafficking, that we're untouchable. that it could never happen to us. That happens to people over there. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And that is precisely why it happened to my daughter, is because we were so naive to it. So the presentations talk about what trafficking really looks like here in North America. I break it all down for you very quickly. I dispel the myths. I show you what it is. Then we go on to the vulnerabilities and why our kids are prime targets for traffickers to be picking them up, being interested in them. And then we talk about consent, because quite often what happens after the fact is we're finding out from the victims that they felt they had said yes, and that's because we weren't teaching proper consent. So the consent is also part of it. So I find when I do the presentations, there's one part of, like, one of those three parts that somebody really connects with very, very deeply. It's an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. So it's a long presentation because I try to touch on all three of those things, because those are the three things we missed. And I do find that typically one of those aspects really resonates with just about everybody who takes the presentation. Some of them, all three resonate, and they begin to understand that they need to be doing more in their families. It's good work to do, especially when I can do a live presentation, because then I can see people's faces and then they feel that they can come up and talk to me afterwards. And quite often they do, and they get extra information. They begin to understand that I'm a human being, that this actually happened to a suburban family, faith-based family. I was a stay-at-home mom, and it really helps open their eyes to realize this could actually happen to them as well, because traffickers, they don't care what demographic you came from. They don't care what religion you come from. They don't care what race you come from. They don't care about your political affiliation. They don't care if you're rich or poor. They don't care. Your kids are targets. So those presentations are a huge way and a good way for me to heal from everything we've been through as well, because of the feedback that I get. So it's usually good feedback. Organizations in particular really like what I do, mostly because what they do is not on a personal level from a parent's point of view. They do it from either a research point of view, or they do it from a victim point of view. So my presentations are considerably different from what most people are used to.
I can understand the changes actually you are making, because when you are coming from your own experience, and then when you're sharing those situations, you are really connecting with those people, and then they can understand, they can relate to you easily. So it's a heart-to-heart connection, though. Thank you for the contribution. It's a really big. A very important task you are here doing. What I want to ask is that I just wonder, before we finish it off, zero male suicide, which is a theme for this year, International Men's Day. So one of the reasons is, of course, you touched on earlier. It's about the sex trafficking or human trafficking, because of the impact they went through. It's male suicide. So can you share your thoughts on that? How do you see it, and then what we can do, or like what's going on in and around the world?
What's going on around the world? That's a bigger question, bigger than what we've got time for tonight. Here's what I truly believe. The reason why people feel like they need to give up is because they feel nobody understands them, nobody is connected with them. They don't feel like they have a purpose. There isn't a time that I go for a walk, or I go out grocery shopping, or I do anything where I don't try to reach out and speak to somebody, especially those people who have their eyes down all the time. They just need to be seen. They need to understand that somebody actually cares enough to say hi to them. So when it comes to suicide and the issues that come around that, I I I can't relate. I've never been in a position where I felt that committing suicide was the better option. But what I can understand and relate is just feeling like somehow I'm unworthy for whatever reason. And in my case, it was, that I let my daughter get trafficked. And the only thing that I truly believe every single one of us is meant to do every single day is to reach out and touch somebody else's life with a word of kindness, a word of encouragement. Um, you'd be surprised. There was this book out there, and there was this guy. He was a homeless guy. He wasn't homeless. He actually decided to be homeless for a year just to see what it was like. And he said the number one thing, and almost caused him to commit suicide, was that nobody would look him in the eye. He felt like he was not seen. And that one thing alone is trying to get somebody to look you in the eye. And quite often they don't. They're down looking at their phones or whatever the case may be, especially our kids. But just saying hi as you're walking by, or give some word of encouragement. If there's somebody you know personally, it takes nothing to send a text message and just say, checking in with you. You have no idea the impact that might have made on that person that day. And just send them in a little emoji, a little GIF. I keep saying that wrong, but it's something where Snoopy's hugging them or something. I don't care. Just let them know that you thought about them today. That's really what people need. They need to feel like somebody else cares. And it's such a simple thing for us to do. And I do this on a regular basis, every single week. I go through my contact list and I try to find somebody I haven't reached out to in the last month, and I reach out to them. I think those simple things, those little ways of making sure the people we know personally feel like they're cared for. It's our responsibility to make our friends understand we care about them. And if we did that, suicide would be a lot less. Knowledge and understanding what's going on is the second part. But honestly, suicide is usually caused because people feel there's no other way out, or they're not connected to any person, or they have no purpose. We can fix part of that for them.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, because it doesn't matter. You don't have to talk to somebody for a couple of minutes or hours or days.
Nope.
Just one word, or maybe one line, one text, one phone call, just 2-3 things you can ask, and then you can hang up. And then, you never know, the next day or later on, they will tell you what
that meant
in on the head. It's a lot of stories we hear a lot of times, but you never know what's going on their side, though.
That's right.
We never know. So it's always good to keep in touch, or at least have some kind of connections, because after we hear something happened, we cannot do anything.
That's right.
It's too late, right?
That's right.
So
absolutely.
The last one thing is how to contact you, how to reach out to you, because some people, they really want to connect with you, and then maybe through social media, or maybe they want to see your presentation, something like that. How can they reach out to you?
All right. Well, lots of ways. So my website is parentwithpurpose.ca. My YouTube is at Parent with Purpose. My LinkedIn is under my name, which is Lynda with a Y, Harlos. My workshops, I do a free workshop every month. It's usually the first week. I do it on different days just to make it so that people with different schedules hopefully can make it. So if there's some on Saturdays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, so on and so forth. Facebook, I'm on Facebook with Parent with Purpose, or you can email me at, believe it or not, parentwithpurpose.ca@gmail.com. So pretty much if you type in my name, Lynda Harlos, Lynda Harlos, or parentwithpurpose.ca, you're going to find me, because I'm all over the place. Did I lose you?
I try to put the contact information on
okay.
on the messenger, actually, on Facebook, so people can see it.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. So it's easier. I don't want to
and as far as the book goes, if you go to my website, right on the front page, there is a sign up thing that you can sign up for, so that as soon as the book comes out, you'll be sent a link, so you know when you can go and purchase it, probably off of Amazon. That's the primary place where most people go, but so that will be on my website. So I don't do a newsletter per se. I find people are sick and tired of newsletters. But if you ever want to email me or contact me through my website or LinkedIn, those are my two primary ones. I'm more than happy to talk.
So probably this is the right
yes.
Email address, website address, and also YouTube. And you said that you are on LinkedIn too.
Yep.
So people, again, humble request to everyone, whoever is watching and then even listening this, just don't ignore. Please share this message with anybody that you come across. And also, even if you want to contact Lynda, you can, of course, contact her, and then, whatever you want to ask her, you can absolutely do that. And looking forward to your books, and hopefully meeting your daughter too, to see her story, listen to her story too. Thank you, Lynda, for taking the time and then, being here and then sharing your life journey with us. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your help. I appreciate your support. You're amazing.
Thank you. So people, I can see Lynda actually, Harlos, she is shared her life story with us today, and she is the founder of actually Parent with Purpose, and also sex trafficking and abuse prevention educator, keynote speaker, teacher, author. Some of the information you already heard from Lynda. Please reach out to her, or even if you have any questions or any concerns about human trafficking or any other issues, please try to get some information and then educate yourself. That's our humble request. One more thing, coming weeks, probably 18th and 19th November, Saturday and Sunday, we will have our celebration for the International Men's Day. Saturday, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., we will have a panel discussion on zero male suicide. There will be some experts, professionals will be joining and sharing their thoughts on that. And also on the next day, Sunday, November 19th, from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we will have a small celebration on the closing day on November 19th. Please join. You can find us on all the social media, Facebook. We have a group page, Velautham 360, and also YouTube channel. We have done over probably, I would say, 400 episodes on various topics. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Velautham 360, and Facebook, of course, and LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Any social media, you can find us and support us. Share your thoughts, share your comments, share your feedback. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining, and please share this message with other people so we can help more people. Thank you for watching.